Hello, it's Nishan Sandhu. I hope you're doing really well. I wanted to make a video today for those of you out there who are still a little intimidated of using herbal loose leaf teas. It's really simple, and I feel like I meet a lot of people that like the idea of doing it, but they just don't really know where to start. And I wanted to give you some places to start. So basically, there are several different ways you can do this, from using a pot of water. You can use something like a little tea strainer. If you happen to have a French press, you can use a French press, such as this blend that I'm making here. And another option is to make a tea and putting it in a jar. This is like an old queso jar that I found in the fridge that belongs to one of my roommates that was no longer being used. And so I just cleaned this out, sterilized it, and you have a tea to go if you want a little short stout tea. You can also use different size mason jars, such as this, or a larger size. This one has calendula oil in it right now that I'm making, but I didn't happen to have any empty jars, which is good. That means I'm making lots of medicine. So anyway, I wanted to just kind of walk through making a herbal tea in a jar, because not everybody has a French press. Not everybody has a tea strainer like this. But when you make an herbal tea for medicinal purposes, it's important that you're using enough tea to actually do something. When you're using tea bags, quite often, for instance, chamomile, you kind of need to use almost a whole box to really get a decent dose on it. Now, this depends on the tea. Not all teas are like that, so don't go and drink an entire box of every single chamomile tea that's out there. But quite often, basically, you smell it and there's not a strong smell. That's the aromatics that are lacking in that plant. When a plant is fresh, you can smell it. You can smell the vitality in the plants in general, and quite often that's how you can tell good medicine from other stuff that's maybe not so fresh. So the tea that I wanted to make today was actually from some things that I collected earlier, and I've had off today, and it's been amazing, a really, really fun day. So I collected some mullein leaves from a friend's house. These are some of the longer leaves. They're very beautiful. They're fuzzy, kind of like lamb's ear. And mullein is a really great herb for when you have a cold, where you have kind of congestion in your lungs and you're not able to cough things out. It helps. It actually activates little hairs called cilia, or like hair-like things in your lungs, to just draw things up and help you to get it out of your system. So I'm going to use this. And then I have these beautiful rose hips that I collected, this bowl. This is my first time collecting rose hips, and they're just such a stunning color. It's just kind of unbelievable. Just dropped that. So, and then I actually have some lemon balm that I didn't harvest it, but it's dried. But it's a mint, and like other mints, many mints, they tend to be better when they're dry. One of my teachers, Seven Song, suggests using mints more so when they're dry. He feels that essential oils are somehow more preserved in that sense. They preserve really well. So, to show you how easy it is to make a jar, you can use like a long and tall, sleek tahini jar, such as this one. And you just, start really simply. One, when you go into your backyard and you're collecting medicine, make sure you know that you're collecting the right thing. Always have some kind of guide or key or a friend that knows what they're talking about, as in a botanist or an herbalist, and do your research, because there's no point in risking taking stuff that's not the right thing. So I'm just going to tear up this leaf. You can chop it up with a knife, but I'm just showing you how simple it is just by using your hands and an old jar. Of course, I clean this jar out so it's not all funky. And when you make teas, a good idea of quantity, for instance, if you're making this whole thing, if it were full, I would use like a really nice big handful. And I would drink this throughout the day. So I take some rose hips. I would probably use like half a handful of these. They're pretty sour, so I don't want it to be all like super sour, but maybe just like actually 2 or 3, because I'm just using it for like the vitamin C aspect. I'm making a pseudo, let's say, wintertime cold flu sort of kind of thing. And then I've got some lemon balm. I'll take a pinch of that and throw that in there. So you can see the bottom of that jar. This jar is maybe like a quarter full. And I take my electric kettle, which I absolutely love because I also love to leave hot things on the stove and forget about them, but the electric kettle turns itself off. So good to cover that up. I like to spin the jar just because I feel like it covers the herbs more. And then you put a lid on it. If you made this in the morning or afternoon, I would usually let it set, at least for 15, 20 minutes. And if you're going to make some kind of herbal teas that are out of roots or things that are woodier, like stems and certain fruits, you're going to want to make a decoction instead of making a infusion. This is an infusion. An infusion is when you take the herbs, you pour water over it, and you let it steep. A decoction is when you're actually going to sort of simmer something for a long time on the stove because it needs more time and heat to come out. So when I make these, because the jar is hot, I actually like to let them sit for several, like an hour or two until the jar is cool enough and drink it as a cold tea. And you can drink it like this, it's a little bit messy, but you can drink it like this. Or if you want, you can strain it. But yeah, so I hope this is helpful to you. I hope it inspires you to just go out and try something, dandelion leaf, dandelion flower, maybe going to your co-op or to your local herbalist and getting some things that maybe you haven't picked. Maybe it's something that somebody else has, and trying it out and realizing how simple that herbal medicine really can be for yourself, so that you can start to begin to help to tonify your body, balance yourself, whatever it is that you need on a daily basis. I look forward to seeing you next time and hope this is helpful.